Constantine, a Hellblazer podcast.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Hell Talk. As always, I am joined by my co-host, Hoku.
Hey, everyone.
And today we're going to be going through Hellblazer, was it 134 through 139? The beginning of the Warren Ellis run.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is an interesting one because, I don't know, I always assumed Warren Ellis, before I read it, did at least 20 issues or something on it. But when you look at it, he only did 12, maybe 11 issues actually, because later on there's a two-part story that one says he wrote with someone else, and then the second issue says the other person wrote it. So it's did he just give the idea for the first issue to this guy and then that guy wrote it?
He just kind of dropped off on it or something?
I guess. I don't know exactly what happened. I don't know if he got on other titles and was like, oh, I can't take Hellblazer because I'm doing this one or something. But it's one of those ones I'm like, I would have liked to see where he would have gone with it. Because he does have some pretty cool one-shots later on that I was like, oh, that was really fucked up, weird, and interesting. But his genre is a little bit different than what we've seen so far. So that being said, are you familiar with Warren Ellis at all?
By name, but if you asked me straight up, quizzed me what he's done, I wouldn't be able to point it out. So you mention it, and then I'll be like, yes or no. How about that?
Yeah, that works. Transmetropolitan.
Oh, okay.
The Authority.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Those are the two main ones that I read from him. But okay. I mean, he wrote Marvel. He wrote other stuff too. But what was the big one he wrote? He did a lot of indie stuff. There's one called Orbiter. There's one what was it? Oh, he wrote Planetary and Stormwatch, I think too.
The names sound familiar, but I haven't actually read any of those.
Okay, those Planetary and Stormwatch became the Authority. That was the original titles that he wrote. Those teams then moved when they got bought by DC to a title called The Authority, I believe.
Okay.
If I'm thinking right.
I mean, I know of The Authority, but that's another one that was just sort of vaguely in the background when I was half in and half out of comics. So I'd be like, oh, after hearing about that, there's chatter about it, but I never actually picked it up myself.
So he's in some pretty big titles, but nothing that was oh my God. But I like his Transmetropolitan is one of my favorite series of all time. So if you like weird, Hunter S. Thompson, crazy characters, that's a good one. Very political and actually pretty topical now, surprisingly. It somehow became more topical over the years than it was already when in the 90s when he wrote it. So
I can't say it's 100% my jam, but I'm always down to read something new. So yeah, I'll definitely check it out.
Okay, cool. Well, so you don't really know too much. So is this your first thing you've ever read from him then that you know of?
Probably, yeah. Unless you mentioned some obscure, like you said, Marvel or, DC or whatever run, and I happen to have read it at that time, that would probably be maybe the first version of something I've read by him. But otherwise, off the top of my head, no. This will be my first contact with him. And the weirdest thing is that, okay, so we just finished Garth Ennis's run, and now we're onto Warren Ellis. And I have to tell you, the names is just, it bugs me. It really does, because I'm just getting them mixed up. I want to say Ellis. Warren Ennis. I want to say Garth Ellis. You know what I mean? It's driving me a little crazy for a little while because I'm like, who the heck am I reading right now?
You're not the only one. That's a common thing where I'm thinking, who wrote this? And I'm like, oh, it's Warren Ellis. I'm like, wait, no. It's Garth Ennis. They're fairly close too. Both of them are kind of edgelordy from the 90s. They're both British. They're both from that second British invasion run from that Vertigo brought in of writers. So they have similar, pedigrees and stuff. as far as like what to expect in their writing. But I think, and I don't know, like Warren Ellis approaches story much differently than Garth Ennis. And I don't know, I noticed it like kind of immediately. Like the way he tells this story specifically is kind of weird. Like, did you feel weirdness about it or anything? How it flowed?
I could definitely feel the weirdness. Yeah. It was kind of jarring in that way that it didn't feel, it was almost like bumpy ride sort of beginning where you're like, oh, what's going on here? So the universe is shifting and I sense something is different.
I don't know if it's because he was just like getting the character, like, you know, like understanding him with this arc, and then it would have like kind of smoothed out if he got further. Because I think everybody, when they first start writing a character, except maybe like Jamie Delano, when he like, because he created the base for the character, you know, even like, let's see, Garth Ennis, that one was pretty straightforward. Like, I mean, you had Dangerous Habits was the first arc, and that was like, you know, John's dying of cancer. Let's set this up. It's pretty great. Although even in that, he did feel a little bit different, and we talked about it, that it worked because there was, you know, the twin thing that happened with the Magnus and everything.
That was the post twin merging.
That was post Magnus.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why I was like, oh, well, we can just write that off as he's a different person now because he like absorbed his twin or whatever, like, or made peace with his twin or whatever the fuck happened in issue 40. And so I remember us talking about that, and it's like, well, it works even if he's a little bit different because of that. You know, he uses magic a little more in different ways than he did in Jamie Delano's run. But like nothing really happened after Jenkins run, or, you know, the Ellis little arc that, or I did it too. The Ennis arc that we just read. This to like make the feeling of John a little different, or the story that, you know, he's telling of John feel that way. So I don't know. I can't tell if it's just bumps or he had like a specific writing style that would then be like, oh, this is mind blowing after, you know, 30 issues or something. Like, I don't know. It's hard to tell. But did his John feel like correct to you, or was there something off with John himself?
You know, I still don't really know how I feel with this arc and with the writing and the way the characters being portrayed, because it's almost like it's trying to be redemptive for him, which it just feels weird because it's like he hasn't really done anything to drastically shift his point of view that I could think of, but he seems to be trying to almost be sort of the like he's trying to make himself better, or at least he's trying to think of himself in a better way, which is a weird shift in perspective.
Yeah, but they don't set it up, or he doesn't set it up at all, right? Like, it's just like, oh, he sees the death of his girlfriend, or his former girlfriend, in the paper, and is like, I must figure this out for her. Like,
well, it's sort of the same feeling as when he saw his other ex-girlfriend on the street and was like, oh no, she's a prostitute and a crack addict, I have to save her. So I get the feeling that he was trying to invoke with that, suddenly I need to be hero John and rush in, although in this case it's I need to figure out why she died, as opposed to I need to save her, is more like, I guess, save her ghost or free her ghost.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think Ennis had a bit more set up with that whole like girlfriend, even though it comes out of nowhere. It's like we kind of understand his John more by then, so it's not fully out of place. He's gone through all these things in Ennis's run before he sees that drugged up prostitute girlfriend of his, or ex-girlfriend of his, and tries to save her in the Ennis run. But in this one, we just start off like John waking up naked and reading the paper, finding that out, and like, oh, I gotta solve it. So it is kind of like just throws you in there. We don't really get too much of why John would particularly care enough for that. Enough to like go like, he doesn't even know how she died or anything really. It just was an obituary. But then when he like he has to go look into it, and then finds out that, oh, she was part of this like other magic guys thing, and he made her some crazy like woman of Babylon and all this stuff. So like that gets revealed like issue 3 or 4. So we don't know that, and he doesn't know that until later on too. But in this first issue, you know, he talks to like Watford, who's like a new character that we haven't seen before, who actually I heard gets brought back in like Mike Carey's run and stuff. So that's like way that's like in the 170s. Yeah, I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like that's actually kind of cool, even if like your run wasn't that like memorable or something. If someone actually ties back to it with characters that you made, that's kind of fun.
You'll probably have to remind me who he is when we get there, because I will have forgotten by then.
Sure.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I also was like, wait, is that the guy? Who's the guy? Because I'm like way ahead now. I've read like I read all of like Azzarello's run to prepare for recording that. So and then I started the beginning of Mike Carey's run, who was the writer that brought Watford back, and I was like, oh, it's that guy. Like it's been it's been so long.
That's funny.
Yeah, but yeah, so yeah, Watford like just he has this cop that he knows, and he helps him out, which is and shows him like the dead body of his like where the dead body of his girlfriend and where she was murdered is pretty like messed up that the cop would do that. But and like but until he does that, John doesn't know how she died. So I don't know why did they say? I don't remember. Does it say like he had like a bad feeling and that's why or something, or do you remember?
I don't remember either. Okay. If he did, it was not memorable enough for me to remember it.
Right. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, if it was a very slight plot point just to like make him have a motivation, like I got a magic tingling that this was more than what it was. So maybe that's what it was. I don't know. But yeah, so speaking of the woman he finds out from the obituary that's dead, what do you think about like, so we learn about this woman from John's past, and from the clues they gave of when this relationship was supposed to happen, it seemed like it was supposed to happen around Garth Ennis's run. I don't know when exactly, but that was what I got. What do you think of that, like kind of interjecting past events or past people into other writers' timelines in order to make it like, oh yeah, I knew them back when this happened around that time?
I mean, I think all of the writers have done it because there's only so much presence that you can fill in, right? So
to an extent, but some of them are like, oh, this happened in the middle area that we've never read about, you know, like when John was in between Ravenscar and, you know, issue 1 of Hellblazer. There's all this time we could put there, you know? So
yeah, it was kind of weird. I thought it would have been, well, in my head it was happening like way before, but maybe I missed another clue or something, because it seemed to me it would have been happening earlier. Like maybe this was something from like the further past.
Right. The reason why I think that, I can't remember what the actual clue was that he said, but it was like, oh, if he's saying that, then it has to be either like this part or that part. Like I think it was like, oh, it would be like in between Delano and Ennis or something like that. You know, it happened, but I'm like, that's so weird to throw it in that spot. You know, I feel like if he had been like, oh, this was way before issue 1 of Hellblazer, or just before issue 1 of Hellblazer or something, that works better in my opinion. But
I don't know, maybe they just, or maybe he thought too many people have tried to do that and gone like way back, and he's like, well, I'm going to try and make this a little more present, but it also is kind of like weirdly stuck in somewhere.
yeah, I don't know, he's trying to fit it in, but I guess, you know, you got to do what you got to do to make your arc work. Like you said, other people have done it. I just feel like this one was a little bit clumsier. And then like,
yeah, I felt that too.
Yeah, and then Watford himself is a weird character. Like, I thought I was misreading it. I'm like, am I misunderstanding what he's saying? When he kept saying it in reference to Isabel and her body or whatever, I was like, what the fuck? Like, what did you think about that?
Oh, that was super creepy. I will think, yeah, at first I would thought I was mishearing you when you kept, reading that as the character saying it. And I was like, what on earth does that mean? And I was like, oh, it. He either doesn't see people or women specifically as people. So to him, like the body is just an it. And I don't know if he applies that also to living or if just dead, everybody's an it, or if just women are its or if women's bodies are it. So I don't know the levels at which because he didn't really seem to specify. Because I think later on, when he's talking to the magician guy Josh, I think he calls her by name.
Maybe that's just to make Joshua right angry or something, or
because he did also call the body it, and then also referred to her, I think, as her last name.
So what I got from that is that like maybe because he's a cop, but also it's like a dead body. So like maybe he's so disconnected from or like jaded from the job or something that like dead bodies are just it's to him. But then to add like a weird kink in that theory or whatever, like, him and his cop buddies are sharing the photos of her being nude and like cut up and stuff for like what seemed to be sexual purposes.
Yeah, that was not cool.
Yeah, no,
I mean, that's
not
definitely
cool.
very icky. Although I can only imagine that they'd be like, "Oh, she's a butterface."
Yeah, right. Well, I guess after that,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, it was weird because I couldn't figure out if he's supposed to be like a good guy or a bad guy or whatever, or just not just on our side but not good or bad, just neutral chaos or something.
Oh, I think he's definitely a skeevy dude, like no doubt. And just because he helps John doesn't make him a good guy either. So I think he's definitely just one of John's new friends who, he had to come up with a new way to make some of John's friends weird. So this guy's just a weird skeevy cop who, does icky things. And
I gotta say, Ellis's friend group for John is some of the weirdest people so far. I mean, we've had like Moppet and Lefty and the Ennis one, Rick the Vic.
I mean, he's had some weird guys. There was the guy, I have completely forgotten all their names at this time. There was the bug guy. There was the other guy who could go into the computer. I mean, some of them have had some very interesting traits.
They're weird, but this is way weirder.
This guy is definitely on the ooh, ew, gross kind of side.
Yeah, all of them are weird in this run.
Most of his friends, at least I didn't feel like icky about for the most part. 9 out of 10 times they were just people who had weird abilities, but they weren't necessarily like icky people themselves.
Yeah, that's true. Like you're like, oh, what's his name? Not Weasel. There's a guy that starts with a W name. Can't remember. Talks to dead people. He was in Jenkins' arc.
Weevil.
There you go.
I remember the name.
There you go. Yeah. He, he's a weird guy. He's got this weird power, but himself is a good person.
Yeah.
Mostly, at least from what we saw. Whereas this is like, all of these people seem terrible. Except maybe Clarice, the old woman. But like, okay, Map is maybe a good person. I don't know. He murders bad guys.
I liked Map. I thought he was cool.
Yeah, I thought Map was cool too.
I mean, like his powers are definitely cool. And yeah, he to me at least seemed like the kind of guy who's just like, I'm old and I ain't going to take no shit. So
I like that character. I kind of wish he appeared more. I don't think he appears any other times.
Oh, gosh darn it, man.
That I know of. Maybe I'm wrong. The weird thing is right after this, Azzarello's run takes place in America. So kind of everybody we knew from this run is not in that. So
man,
yeah.
They better not do to Map what they did to Papa Midnight because
yeah, right.
That would piss me off.
Well, they haven't really fleshed Map out yet, other than he's some sort of magic person that can locate anybody in the city and is also kind of like the spirit of the underground of England or something. I don't know. But
how could you not do more cool things with a character like that? He is anyway.
We'll see. Maybe Mike Carey brings him back in his run. I don't know. because he did it for Watford. So obviously he's aware of this run. And then also you get like Sparrowfart, which is a funny name, but to say Sparrowfart a bunch of times is awkward to me. And I thought, like, well, if I call him Hawkstorm, people won't know who I'm talking about. So because they just mentioned his real name is Hawkstorm once, but I've been calling him Sparrowfart for the whole, for 2 issues now or whatever. So
yeah, that would get confusing. I honestly forgot that was his name because he's just Sparrowfart. So.
Yeah, exactly. That guy's weird. Darren the Crack Magician. I'm like, what? Like, he smokes crack. He does crack magic. Yeah, that was weird. And then the only person, like I said, who was any kind of normal was Clarice. She's like some old magician waiting to die in this ballroom.
Oh, and the dude at the bar who cried. Wasn't he also a magician?
Dude at the bar who cried.
The old dude who was just like, and my wife.
Yes. That guy, okay, I did not understand that scene at all. Like, what does this have to do with anything? The fact that, like, John is like, hey, what's going on? And he starts crying, and then John's like, oh, Map's over there. I'm going to go talk to him. But doesn't say that. He just walks away, and the man's just crying, like, thinking John's hearing all of it. And then John talks to Map, comes back, and then the guy looks up and is like, so that's what I feel like. And John's like, I feel you. Like he didn't even listen to the old man or anything. So it was just weird. Like, why introduce the conversation with Map like that? Like, why would you have it be like that? Why couldn't he just show up somewhere else in a different area? Like, I don't know. It just seemed weird to introduce a character like of an old magician that's never going to come back and never had a point in the story either.
I don't know. Maybe it was supposed to be to sort of show John, like, you want this sad life? This is, because that's what the old guy says. Like, this is what you're going to be if you don't cut this shit out. You're going to be me, and here's my sob story. And
yes, except out of nowhere, it doesn't make sense to me. If John had been talking to this guy at a bar earlier or something in previous issues, then maybe, and John's mulling it over in his mind as he's walking and figuring shit out.
I don't know. Maybe it's like, I don't know, a sort of ham-fisted way of just being like, look at your future. And, I mean, I think
that's what it was. I think it was a very ham-fisted way of doing that. But
I just had a thought. Okay, so you know how we were saying that most of his friends seem to be mostly good people, whereas he's sort of the asshole of the group? What if, because we both kind of felt that John was a little weirdly trying to convince himself that he's the good guy in all this? Because he's trying, like literally at the end where he's like, I'm not the best person, but I'm doing my best. Maybe by contrast, he's trying to surround him with people who are way worse, so he seems better.
Maybe that's it. Maybe that was his angle. Like, you know what? Everybody writes John like he's a bastard. He does these, bad things, but for good reasons, potentially. The good reason could even be, his own life. He's selfish or whatever. But, like in this one, you don't feel bad for, like, John is the best, in quotes, person out of all these people. So maybe it does make him look more heroic by comparison or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I was only thinking of it just because when you were literally like listing all these people, I'm like, these people are kind of just shitty people, and they really make John look like better by comparison. Oh, maybe that's what it is.
Now that you're saying that, that's probably what he was trying to do, at least for this first arc. Like I said, maybe that would have been, if he had done like 20 or 30 issues, like a good thing to think about over those issues, but he didn't do that. So we only have this one 6-issue arc and then a bunch of one shots.
And even when he those guys beat him up and then they try to go after Map, and then Map confronts him. He's like, hey, why'd you do that? And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, I figured you could handle yourself. So it wasn't even like, he didn't even have that sort of John sort of bastardy way of like, oh, yeah, I just figured it would throw them off my track if I sent them to you. Like, he didn't even really have like a snarky response to that. He was just kind of like, sorry, man. Like, even that felt sort of like wimpy, I guess.
Yeah, I can see that. There was a little bit of like, mapping like, what the fuck? And he's like, I figured you could figure it out. But it was a dick move, which is John for sure. if I had to say like what felt the most John in this issue, in these issues, like that was one of them, where John is like, yeah, I sent them to you. I figured you could deal with it because you're magic and shit. So, but yes, he did also have like that, just that little edge to it was John. But then, like you said, he is kind of like weirdly apologetic and kind of wimpy too at the same time. So,
I mean, coming off of that whole, demon kid weirdness that just happened, right? Like he seemed a lot more like he was willing to step on like the Antichrist as a baby. And now we're coming to this John who's kind of like, oh, I got to take my licks to really draw this guy out. Like, what?
yeah, it doesn't quite it doesn't quite line up with what we've known of John so far.
It's almost like self-flagellation or something.
Yeah, and maybe if he set it up like that, like instead of just waking up, he's in a bad place, kind of like how when in Jamie Delano's run at the beginning, after he gets the demon blood and he feels terrible, he's like, I just want to die, I want to kill myself, and he's just like, there's that issue where he's just moping around trying to figure out how to kill himself. And I think it's right before Swamp Thing takes over his body to go make a baby with Abby. But
or when he was homeless.
That's what, yeah. Or when he was homeless in Garth Ennis's run, same thing. Like he's been down and mopey like that before, but there was like a build up to it, or kind of like if you start him in that spot, then we can like go from there and move up, and we would understand why he's so mopey and sad and maybe different or whatever. But yeah, one thing, we didn't talk about this, so I didn't write it down, but like one thing that just kind of popped into my mind that I did like about this run is kind of like the mention of politics and how even though the Labor Party, I guess, was in power, it was like they'd changed since the 80s when we heard about them in Jamie Delano's run. Where like it was like the Tory and the Laborers and Maggie, and now it's like, oh, Labor is basically the light version of the Tories or something. Like that's how it felt, at least from what John was saying. I kind of like that they brought that up because I like hearing John talk about the politics of the time, because it's kind of fun to hear what he thinks about it. I don't know if you care about that at all, but
No, I think that's cool. I mean, I like, especially if it's grounding it more in where it stands in that moment, that time period. So that's fine.
yeah, I like it just because I liked it in this run because it did feel kind of classic John. Like it was one of the things like, oh, that's classic John. Like anytime there was things that felt correct, I was like, ooh, that. So, I said correct, but you know what I mean? Like classic, what we know John to be from the last 120 issues or whatever it is. So
right.
Exactly. Oh, one thing that always changes too is whenever a new writer takes over, John gets new slang or drops old slang. So I always think that's funny when he starts saying different words. I can't remember. I know he does say different things in this, but I can't remember them specifically. But I remember being like, oh, that's kind of new and different. He never says that, or he like never said that before, kind of thing. And it's like the new hit, whatever the kids are talking on the street. John will pick up depending on what writer is writing him. So
slips into a new lexicon or something.
Yeah. Oh, there was a new comic that I was reading yesterday that had John in it. It was the Batman Full Moon, which is like Batman versus werewolves kind of horror comic.
Nice.
That's just coming out. And the newest issue it's had John in it for a couple issues. But in the newest issue, John is like talking to someone, and this is written by an American writer. And he called a woman babe. And I was like, what the fuck? Like,
oh.
He says love, he says other words, but I've never heard John call a woman babe. And I was like, that is odd.
You remind me of the babe. What babe?
The babe, the power. Yes.
Oh, no, that's ick.
Yeah, right. But it's just like, I think he was saying it to Zatanna because like they used to date or whatever and stuff. But
well, I mean, he would call her love.
That's what I'm saying. Like
something.
he would not use the word babe.
Yeah.
So I was just like, wow, I've never, like, that's odd. It feels so wrong. And yeah. Until that moment, I was like, maybe he could write a good run of Hellblazer. And then I was like, you know what? Never mind. You said one word wrong.
No, thank you.
Yeah, no thanks. Anyway, so yeah, like a lot of that stuff, John feeling a little off was kind of interesting for this run. Whenever something would happen, I would cling on to it when it was like, oh, that's classic John. So, but then speaking of that, there was interesting pacing in these 6 issues. Like there's one issue that's basically just John recovering from getting beat up. And like, I don't know. I felt like it was all over the place personally. What'd you feel about the pacing?
It was weird because it reminded me, like, there were bits and pieces that reminded me of other things. Like when he was healing up, it reminded me of when he kind of sequestered himself under that church with all the sigils, like because he was ready for, you know, I can't remember if it was the first or if it was Lucifer. It was like, first. You know, it was the first. Okay. So like, yeah, when he was going to be like, he's coming to get me, I got to hide, I got to hunker down and just like, just hide myself away because he's going to come and get me. They had that kind of feeling to it. But we like everything felt still slightly off, like it was like, oh, okay, that kind of makes me reminisce about that, but not like fully capturing the feeling again.
Well, on that note, like, because it makes sense in that context of John hiding from the First of the Fallen, why he's so scared or why he's like got to figure it out. But I mean, Joshua Wright, to me, I was like, what a shitty villain. Like, I mean, they don't really introduce him or have any buildup other than he gets beat up. He has some goons, but like people talk about him like, oh, he's a magic guy. But there was no real, like, we never saw it at all, except what he did to Isabel. So what'd you think of Joshua as like a bad guy? Was he a good villain?
I mean, I thought the gangsters were, a little weak for John to be going after until you found out that it was actually the demon kid that he was afraid of, not necessarily the gangsters themselves.
Right. Oh, you mean from the Garth Ennis run? Or yeah, the Garth Ennis
exactly.
Arc.
So like I said, comparisons where you're just kind of like, oh, it feels kind of weird that he should be scared of another magician just because that guy has goons that can beat him up. And why did he? I mean, it still doesn't make sense to me why he let himself get beat up, because he has been in so many situations where he could have gotten beat up but managed to either get out of it or, do some magic to escape before he is beat up really badly or something,
Right. Yeah. That's why I was like, I don't get it. Like, why is this guy a big bad? If they showed him doing some kind of crazy sorcery or maybe bringing his goons back from the dead or something, they'd be like, oh, okay. Like, he's got some powers. But they don't. They're just kind of like...
He was like Job or something, I'm a magician.
Yeah. And he even had like because he like would walk around shirtless and in leather pants. And
gosh.
Oh, and the way that they drew him, he looks exactly like John, except he has long hair. I was like, weird. That's a weird... I mean, I guess it's because that's why Isabel would go for him. Because he had just broke up with John and then met him. But,
so they made him like a doppelganger or something?
Yeah, in the comic, he looks pretty much exactly the same as John, except he goes around shirtless and he has long hair.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, yeah, I think I mentioned it, like he looks a lot like John. He's got blonde hair and stuff, but maybe I didn't impress that enough that he pretty much looks like John, except long hair. So, yeah, so... Isabel as a character is kind of interesting because she's a non-character for a while. She's just a dead body that spurs John into motivation, right? But then later on in the comic, we get like her journal entries, her diary, and we get to learn a little bit more about her and her thought process and how she was as a person. So like, what do you think about her? And then also, what do you think about that kind of... It starts off with her just being dead body motivation, and then we get to learn about her later on through the diaries. What do you think about that kind of like story, not trick, but like way to tell her story?
I appreciated that he gave her at least more growth than just she's a dead body and all John cares about is avenging her. So I'm glad they gave her some, at least some backstory, some uh, filled out her personality a little bit. I appreciated that. I didn't mind actually how they did it. I like journal entry sort of things, and it makes it easier because then you don't always have to, at least on the artistic side, don't always have to draw everything, right? Because you just get to have some journal entries and make people read. Haha. So I never mind that. But I don't know. I mean, she kind of was just sort of like you could replace her with just about anybody. You know, she wasn't exactly as unique into herself. She was kind of just like, I used to be his girlfriend, and then because things fell out with John somehow, like they didn't really explain much about their relationship. Like how long were they together? Do you remember?
It wasn't a long time. I think it was max like 3 to 6 months, maybe. And I don't even know if they were like boyfriend and girlfriend. I think it was like maybe just
a hookup.
Yeah, hookups. That, or maybe that's how John thought about it. I don't know, but
see, even that's weird that he would remember her because I'm assuming he hooks up all the time. Plus, he's had quite a few girlfriends that
maybe she was a good lay.
I don't know. But they didn't really say anything about the breakup or, anything. Like I could see him being a little remorseful if maybe he's the one who broke it off, or he was particularly douchey at some point and she was just like, oh, well, screw you. And, he might have felt bad about that later. So that's why he was like, oh, no, she died. Why? How? But that's the part that's missing. So as much as we find out about her, we still don't have much about their relationship. So we don't really know how much she meant to him, or at least I don't feel like I'm like, so she's just some girl like you banged a few times probably. So why all this drama?
Yeah. I think that would have been cool if we got, we could have even got, instead of flashback or instead of him talking to that old guy in the bar, or, we could have got flashbacks of maybe like journal entries after John dumped her, and then, him reading that, and maybe he didn't realize how much he hurt her or something, and then John would have more guilt over it, kind of thing.
Yeah, a little more motivation would have been nice.
Yeah, or maybe he does know how much he hurt her, and that's why he feels like he's got to solve it. I don't know. There could be some definite things to mind there as far as like why he would feel bad about it, because he blames himself in some way for this. It seems, at least until the end, when he's like, you know what, I am a good guy. I'm trying to do my best. Before that, he's definitely like on the, I'm sad about this. It's probably my fault. It's another one of my loves that has died. Woe was me, kind of thing. But yeah, another weird thing that happened in this arc is that John gets some new powers we haven't seen him use, which I was like, I don't quite understand where this is coming from, but sure, I guess we're gonna give him a little bit more juice. And what that is he can like feed off the evil in London and then like astral project his voice, at least, into Sparrowfart's room. I thought that was odd. I don't know about you.
Oh, that was so odd. But I was also like, okay, trying to think of it logically. Maybe that's something he got from Ellie.
Potentially.
It's the only explanation I could think of, because, he got new dark powers or darkness or evil from her. And that could be how he finds a way how to use it. There is no explanation for it. It's just, hey, look at what I can do now. And even that itself is not really an explanation either. So I couldn't figure out if he was tapping into the evil or just like watching it. Like, was he literally feeding off of the evil, or was it more just like by attaching himself to the city, he, could heal from the city's soul or something?
I don't know. I mean, this is what could have explained it, is if, he found like her diary, Isabel's diary and stuff in her room. What if he found like a magic book, then found a spell to do that? Cause he's like, oh, I need to like figure something out in his room after he's recovering, right? Like he's beat up. He's like, this ain't like, I'm not a tough guy. I got to come at this magic. So then he like has these magic books from her room. And then he could have found like a spell that would do that or something like that explains how he finally, all of a sudden knows how to do all this stuff that he's never done before. Yeah, I mean, I like the effect of it. I liked the like talking to Sparrowfart in his room and making him freak out or whatever, but didn't quite understand where the powers came from.
It was like throwing his voice, but from really far away. Like, you know.
Well, no, he thought he was in his room. So yeah, he's far away. But Sparrowfart thought John was in his room, and potentially maybe he was, like his astral projection body was in the room, but he didn't see him. It was just in the dark. But John was like flicking lights on or sorry, shattering light bulbs and stuff. So
I was trying to say, like, I couldn't think of the word, but it was like he was a ventriloquist, you know, throwing his voice to someplace else, only, you know, instead of it being just across the room, it's like across the city. So throwing part of himself, like his voice, his aura, like you said, his essence, to a whole nother place, which is like, wow, if only he could have been able to do that before.
right? Yeah, that would have been helpful many other times.
Or, you know, suck evil out of the city to heal himself. That's very useful. And also strange that he suddenly knows how to do that.
Right. Yeah, you know, he could have just said an offhanded line like, oh, ever since I took that evil from Ellie, I know how to do this now or something, you know, and then.
Yeah, just a little bit. I mean, I get being vague and not wanting to hold our hand sometimes, but other times you kind of just leave in a big fat question mark of we're just like, how, why, where? Sometimes there's too many questions that need to be filled in.
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely in the mind of a little bit of explanation for that kind of stuff when you're introducing new powers of someone, you know. It'd be like if in Dragon Ball all of a sudden he can go Super Saiyan and you miss the whole build up part about where that came from.
Spirit Bomb.
Yeah, Spirit Ball.
Thank you for mentioning that. That is what it felt like. You know, where he's drawing energy. It felt like he was trying to do a spirit bomb.
Yeah, except if we never got the episode where he learned how to do that from King Kai.
Exactly.
Yeah, where it's like he just does it and we're like, wait, he can do that? Like,
or instant transmission, and he can suddenly just do that without any explanation.
At least in those, when he does it, like usually what would happen is someone will ask him, hey, how did you do that? He's like, oh, of course I learned how to do this from blah, blah, blah. Like they do explain it usually in those shows if someone uses a new power or something, even if it's after the fact. But in this, they did not.
You know what? I'll bet he would have told Sparrowfart how he did it, except when he rolled up, Sparrowfart was in. He's like, oh, never mind. I guess I don't need to tell him. So that's how he managed to get away with that. He's like, oh, the guy he would have told how he did that is dead. So sorry, you don't get to know, reader.
All right. So, yeah, we're getting towards the end now. We finally meet Joshua Wright. What did you think of him as a bad guy? Was he defeated too easily?
Joshua Wright, more like Joshua Wrong. Sorry, but yeah. I mean, what did he do? He just got his like crack magician friend to like mess with his mind, make him run out, and then Chaz hit him with his car.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh my gosh, that was so hilarious.
That was funny. I agree. It would have been funnier if there was like a build-up where he's like doing magics and you think he's going to be some big badass in the background. He's been doing this over the issues. We just see him doing incantations or something, and then he just gets hit by a car. That's funny.
He gets taken out like a stray dog, man. It's like, who was this guy? Like, really? He was that badass? Really? He can get sideswiped?
Yeah, and like, why couldn't John could just go over there and probably, you know, just magic himself or whatever, but...
Right? Heck, he probably could have just punched him in the face even. It just seems like, you know, once he was magicked by the crack magician, he could have literally done anything. He just pantsed him and he would have been down for the count.
So, yeah, I just thought, like, wow, that was a lot of buildup of this guy to him to get easily beat. And then, you know, I kind of wanted there to be a bit of a magic fight between him and John. Were you thinking that was going to happen? I mean, like,
yeah,
there is something to be said for, like, subverting expectations. But it would have been kind of cool to see John and him.
Something like in Sword of the Stone when Merlin and Madame Mim have their like fight off with like magics, you know, like I could turn into this. Well, I could turn into this, you know, or something, a battle of wills, you know, like actually standing up to each other. But no, it was just like literally tapping him on the shoulder. What? Who's there? Hit with a car. Yeah, I know. It just to me felt like, you know, a little bit of a letdown at the end for that.
And then the punishment, I was going to say, like, did you think it was deserved? Do you think it was too much, not enough? I mean, being locked inside of
A room temperature body drawer.
but with a frozen corpse that's all leaky and everything.
Yeah. I mean, that was pretty horrific. I give him props for coming up with that because that's pretty nasty. And I mean, yeah, if you kill him, he can't suffer, right? So I thought that was a pretty good ending to it, at least. It's just the build up to it was like, oh, seems like he got beat pretty easy. Are you sure he was actually this big, bad, magical guy? Because maybe she was just tripping and all this magical stuff she thought of was just him actually literally doing nothing. And he just was a woman beater.
Right. Maybe it was all in her head, the magic stuff.
I mean, she did say she was on a ton of drugs, right? Like she was on a ton of drugs that he was getting her on. So maybe he actually didn't know any magic and she was just tripping the whole time.
Yeah, maybe he was like a Job and was just like fake magician branding her and stuff, being like edgy and what he thinks the culture is, and then, not actually doing any magic.
And he just happened to have some like goons that he's like, yeah, I did some things for these goons and now they'll do whatever I say. So that seemed to be his like whole big thing was like, I have goons and who can beat people up. And they like to do that. So they're cool with doing that for me.
Yeah, the goons don't make sense, but whatever. Those look too mob-like, it's like, why would he have goons?
If you're magic, can't you just like magically beat John up if you were like actually magic? Like, why have hired goons?
Right. Or like I said, maybe they're like brought back from the dead or something. Maybe he's a necromancer.
Yeah.
You make him something more than just goons,
Amalgamate them into some sort of like two-headed monster. Like that one time those guys got amalgamated into the monster in the bayou, I think. Or that was a swamp thing.
No, you're talking about the one from there's one in James Delano's run in issue 3 where 3 or 4.
Those 3 guys.
Where Nergal combines the 3 skinheads.
Yeah. Like he could have done something like that. That would have been cool.
Yeah, that would have been cool. It feels like we have very similar thoughts on this this starting arc. So with that being said, it does end very uncharacteristically Hellblazer, where she gets a happy ending because her ghost gets to like walk off into wherever, the after, and gets to rest. And John gives his little monologue where he's like, I'm not such a bad guy, I'm trying. So what'd you think of that ending?
Who was the ghost that walked her off? Was that one of his friends who died?
No, that was okay. So once again, yeah, you had to like really keep track of all the people that he was meeting, but it was when he talked to the old lady Clarice, it was either her husband or one of the ghosts that would come to her table. I think it was her husband. So her husband's dead, but a ghost in this ballroom where he met Clarice. And because he's dead, I guess John asked him like, hey, can you like walk her over to the after? Is
that all Clarice was brought in to do? I can't remember if she actually did anything.
She told John not to mess with Wright or like stop. Basically, she was like John's, not conscience, but like, she was telling him to like give it up because Isabel, he was already addicted to Isabel. Leave it at that. You're not going to get redemption or something. You're just probably going to make it worse or whatever. So like, yeah, she was kind of like there for that. Like John's conscience is kind of what it felt like.
I thought after reading her Isabel's diary, she was going to like help, been like, oh, this guy's a, total dick. Yeah, let me help you out with that. Instead, she's just like, oh, yeah, I guess you can go ahead and like get back at him because he hurt her and she was all messed up.
Well, maybe that's what the help was. Maybe allowing her husband to go take Isabel over.
Okay.
Sure.
I helped. Yep. Yeah, that ending was like, okay. Sure, John, you keep telling yourself you're a nice guy just because you happen to be surrounded by guys who are even worse than you.
Yeah, it was interesting. I didn't like it. You might be able to tell. by what I said at the end. I was like, I mean, John's saying like I'm a good guy, I try, and I was like, no, he doesn't.
It's kind of an oxymoron when coming from John.
Yeah, I was like, from everything we've read, he's not a good guy, and he doesn't try unless it's his life on the line.
And then it's usually step on everyone to make sure I live. Or, even if he's trying to help someone, it's at the detriment of others,
And possibly that person.
Yeah, like I'm going to help you, whether you like it or not, because that is what I want to do, is I want to feel better about myself because I suck. I'm not the best guy. So if I ever do anything, it's never altruistically.
Yeah, or I can talk myself into thinking it's altruistically, but that's why I was like, it seems like, I mean, maybe Garth Ennis is trying to make a good point here, but I took it as John is trying to talk himself into this idea. John is not that idea. And I don't know if Warren Ellis was saying that or not. Like, it's hard to tell without a full run with like a theme behind it to analyze as well. But from this one arc, I don't feel it.
Yeah, I didn't really feel it either. Interesting story. Bit of a letdown.
Definitely see that.
Cool parts, I guess. You brought in some weird people. You did some gross stuff. I almost would say Fear Machine at least had its, had good parts to it and was.
Whoa.
I know, right?
Wow, that's.
I think it might be my new bottom.
Wow, I could see that. It is definitely weird, and I wouldn't say that. Like, personally, Fear Machine still is, I think because it's so long, I think that's Fear Machine's detriment, is that it takes forever to get to where it's going, and I didn't have that much fun getting there. But this one at least is like 6 issues, it's short, and like his writing style is very like matter of fact, so there's not a lot of verbose, crazy things to read or anything.
I think I would rather take the ups and downs of Fear Machine than this sort of like lackluster story.
True. That's a good point too. I could see that.
Because I know Fear Machine was long, but still what it had going for it was crazy. Like when it had its really good moments, you were just like, what is going on? Like this is out of, this is beyond at the time, like I've never read anything like this.
Yeah. And like the ley lines and stuff, those ideas are really cool.
It had really good punchy moments. And to me, its only detriment was that it took a long time to get where it was going, but it still had a good story to tell. This, on the other hand, didn't take very long to get there and was kind of like, okay, I guess we got where we were going to go. And I don't know how I feel about it at the end. Is kind of like, and that, yeah. So, yeah, we're just going to slide that one down to the next lowest rung.
Look at that. You got a new spot. You got a new low for John. I will say, because I've read, the further ones, I feel like the one-shots are actually more good versions of John, and maybe because there's no arc that he has to tell where he has to, like, have 6 issues to like fill space of. These one issues are very like bam, 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 bam. Like they're very like one and dones, kind of cool stories in their own right. So I think the second half of his run is much more interesting than the first half with this arc.
Cool. I am looking forward to, something more on the uptick.
Well, I don't think you'll be disappointed with at least the first 2. The first 2 are fucking crazy one-shots that happen. So
sweet. I do love one-shots.
Well, then you're going to have fun with the next episode. So yeah, is there anything else I missed or anything else you wanted to talk about?
So did you have a favorite cover? I know you had mentioned that this is one of your favorite artists.
Yes, I love Tim Bradstreet's covers for John. And the one out of these that I liked the most are the second issue, which is called Camden, and that one has him in front of like the tiles, and then there's like the ghost of Isabel is behind him. It just looks really cool because like she's fading and he's just standing there with his back to her smoking, and I don't know, it looks cool. I like it.
I liked the first one that has him just kind of casually leaning against the wall with all the graffiti all over it, because I thought that that would be something where I would want to like dissect and be like, what is there anything in meaning in like any of the words that are like written all over the wall? So found that one the most intriguing because you could probably read the whole thing over and never know if any of that actually means anything or does it mean something to the story or there are hidden messages in there. So I thought that one was the most intriguing.
Yeah, I could see that. I also really like the way like Tim Bradstreet draws John. Like his John is pretty. That's how I see him in my head. Like,
Roguish.
yeah, roguish. He's got kind of like spiky hair instead of just like in the olden days. He used to just kind of like slick it back or whatever, you know. But in this, it's kind of more messy and shorter, so it's got like a little bit of spike to it. I like that version of him a little bit more. So
I think it looks good too.
yeah, we agree on this. Yeah. So next run next half of Warren Ellis's run will be the next episode, and that's issues 140 through 145. And I guess there was also a one shot or like a separate like kind of title called Vertigo Secret Files that we'll do as well, because that's like, I guess it's like the intermediary between Ellis's run and Azzarello's run, which starts after that. So we have like 6 issues or 7 issues, most of which are one shots. So yeah, we'll do those next time, and then we get to start Brian Azzarello's run, which is interesting. So I definitely want to talk to you about that run.
Alrighty, I'm excited. We'll get there.
Yeah, we will. So with that being said, we'll see you guys on the next one.
See y'all later.
Bye.